let's get a little bit more concrete about what the Agile Data Governance Process looks like, right? First thing you got to think about when you're thinking about Agile Data Governance is, what's your team going to be? What does it look like, right? How do we bring together these personas in one room so we can have meaningful, fast, and iterative feedback loops around the data assets that we're producing, right? Now, in a typical data supply chain, these roles are very fluid. The most important thing is that the stakeholders are there working together, and we're considering at all times and in real time all of these folks working together, right? Now, when you get these folks into a room, we really encourage almost a design thinking or agile thinking led philosophy. I'm actually going to be speaking on this next week, the idea of doing agile governance sprints, right? Well, to do an agile data sprint, you think about it in terms of use cases, right? What's your use case? What are your set of use stories you want to be? Develop that backlog, right? And that backlog needs to be focused on end user business value, right? Now, as we start thinking about that backlog and we select those first couple of stories to work on, that first use case to work on, right? Where do you start? You start in that producer side who are trying to quickly curate assets together, right? Now, as a data producer, you need to be thinking about collaboration, releasing early, getting that peer review done, defining and documenting in real time, right? You have to capture the knowledge as the work is done, because the next thing you're going to do is you're going to put it in the hands of the consumers in real time, right? You've brought this all together. You've curated it into one consumable repository. You've documented it well. Now it's time to hand it to your consumers and get them hands-on, right? And that is really what we're looking to do. Now, once you get them hands-on, right? Once you have them developing this idea of working insights for one specific use case, so it doesn't mean boiling the ocean, and perfectly curating all your different tables together. It means curating just enough to solve that use case. Then you measure and audit it, right? And you advise and assist your consumers on what they're doing, right? You want to really quickly and safely enable your end users to get the job done. And this creates the kind of virtuous feedback cycle that enables you to really product manage your data assets in a very agile governance flow, right? And this has huge impact. If we think about how most data governance and data democratization, I use democratization loosely here, programs work, is they start very top down. They start by defining standards and principles, and you argue about that in your data governance committee, right? Then you have to define organization-wide policies. Finally, you start building out workflows. Then finally, maybe you release an asset or two to the broader community, right? And after all this process, which could take months or even years, while your IT and infrastructure investment is sitting there idle, not getting ROI, you could be doing all this in more vertical fashion and driving a stake through use case by use case, refining each of these flows as you go, and using the knowledge that you collect with each analytics use case that you tackle to further refine those standards, policies, and principles, right? Now, to do this, you really have to be inclusive, right? You have to bring expertise and user friendliness to bear, right? By being inclusive and bringing all those personas together, right, and working through things, we really, really enable people to work in real time here and really start to break down the barriers that lead to non-reuse in the data analytics space, right? And by breaking down these barriers, having everybody working together in real time, you build that corpus of shared knowledge without having to go in and make it be a post hoc documentation process, right? And look, humans learn by doing. And as they learn by doing, by working with this stuff in real time, you really truly build the data literacy that you need to become a data-driven organization.